All right, welcome to the final power ranking video for our Let's Prepare for Trouble. I'm Rosa. With me here is Hopeless, and we are now
On
doing the best division, the highest
Geo
up
Division, the best one.
Masters division of LPFT. Yep, the Giovanni division. Um, as always, we'll be ranking from bottom up. A small disclaimer, though, we have this. These are the teams after some transactions have been made. For example, my team originally had a Salamence, etc. This is after a week has already been played because these are coming out a little bit later. So just take everything with a grain of salt. But yeah, we'll just be rating the teams as they currently exist, not as they did in their original forms. And also just keep in mind, this is our opinion. Do not take our word as law. We're in this division as well, so there may be. Well, we try to keep bias out of that as much as possible, but it's never perfect. So take everything with a grain of salt. With that, we will start off with the last place team.
So in last place, we had the Falkirk Falcons, coached by Little Luxio, with Darmanitan Galar, Garchomp, Azumarill, Gengar, Magnezone, Shuckle, Amoonguss, Porygon 2, Rotom Fan, Absol Mega, and Cottonee. And his team is really, really scary. On paper, that is. I mean, he has threats. Darmanitan Galar, Garchomp, Azu, Gengar, they can always win games just by sweeping. But he does not have a ground immunity. He really does not have one whatsoever. He has Rotom Fan as his only ground immunity, and he has 0 resistances outside of Cotton. That's a huge issue, because anything that just sets up, it could just spam EQ and just kill everything on his team. Garchomp is bulky enough to take one. Amoonguss, Porygon 2, they can eat, but Amoonguss, Porygon 2, more so Amoonguss, is very passive, and you could just set up a sub on them, honestly, and then just proceed to snowball into her lesser bulky mons like the Darmanitan Galar, Azu, Gengar, and just run him over.
All right, and in 11th place is by far the worst coach, Giovanni. Somehow someone let him become a mod. I don't know how. It was a giant mistake, but it's the Hackensack Strikers, coached by Hopeless. Dog shit coach. The team is Zapdos, Aegislash, Mamoswine, Tapu Lele, Greninja, Salazzle, Shaman, Girder, Meowstic, Lickitung, and Druddigon. This team just isn't bulky enough. She's got a couple of things that can take hits in Mamoswine, Aegislash, and 2 walls, really, in the Shaman and the Zapdos, both of which are not all that spectacular as walls with, like, relatively mediocre bulk for a Pokemon. He's got only okay removal with 1 Mon Zapdos just having to bring defog every single week. So I guess that's not okay removal. Terrible removal. He's just going to get hazard stacked out of existence, which is terrible when you're a hyper offense team that relies on keeping momentum. And not only will defog lose him momentum, but will also just make all of his mons take a lot of damage. They all die to hits. This team just needs more bulk, needs better hazard removal. And that's the long and short of it.
Actually crying. Alright, next we have the Stag. The Stag Cyndaquil, I hope I said that right. Coached by Cyndaquil HQ, with Clefable, Heatran, Venusaur Mega, Urshifu Rapid Strike, Gudra, Slowking Galar, Buzzwole, Talonflame, Morpeko, and Quilladin. Big thing is that he just looks like he drafted Stall. He doesn't really have a win con outside of Urshifu Rapid Strike, or maybe Clefable setting up, or just Heatran being able to just be annoying and trap things with Magma Storm and kill them. Seems just really fat, and if like he just struggles to break bulky waters. Like he has to bring Mega Venu every week in order to break a bulky water. And because Urshifu Rapid's not breaking them. Surging Strikes just usually isn't enough. He'll just die to Rocky Helmet Chip. Clefable can win games, of course, being Clefable with Calm Mind, Stored Power, all those shenanigans. He can win, of course. But outside of just Urshifu Rapid and Clefable, he doesn't really have a solid win con.
And next up is the Praying Picantis, coached by Clenta Bugsnax. This is Mega Mawile, Zygarde, Rillaboom, Suicune, Silvally, Moltres, Ursula, Galar, Avalugg, Hitmontop, Audino, Chimicho. It seems pretty cool. It does do the nice trick with a ground type that spams a ground type move that's not Earthquake, so it doesn't, interfere with the Rillaboom. There are 3 very strong physical breakers on this team. 1 decent special threat in the Suicune and maybe the Moltres. The problem with this team is that there's just a lot of mons that are relatively passive here. I think especially when you look at things like Chimicho, like Audino, like Avalog, and like Corsola, and to some extent things like Hitmontop, and even sometimes Silvally as well. Seems like a lot of this team is setup fodder. A lot of this team is not able to realistically threaten the things that it's supposed to check, which means that honestly, most of the offense is just going to rest on the shoulders of 3 to 4 Mons, which is not a great situation to be in, especially when they're basically you just really need a Suicune answer and then just physical walls to be able to beat this team defensively. So I think this team just suffers from not quite enough offensive strength, while also having an only mediocre defensive backbone. Obviously, despite the fact that Suicune and Moltres are both very, very good.
All right. Next we have the Haxel's Halderan.
Haxo Halderan.
Haxel Halderan. Thank you for helping me. I cannot say that whatsoever. Coached by Gigi. With Melmetal, Infernape, Tapu Koko, Tangrowth, Swampert, Blissey, Latias, Glalie Mega, Evil, Cradilly, Vespiquen. One thing I want to point out right away is I do not like Cradilly on this team. Anything else probably would have been better. Probably a Poison type actually would have been better on this team because he very hard loses the fighting spam with there being two resist, one really solid resist. Tapu Koko and Latias being the 2 resist, and then Latias being a really good one. Vespiquen is there, it does resist, but knockoff plus rocks, Vespiquen's no longer switching into any CC, so I don't really count Vespiquen as a real Pokemon, unfortunately. You can prove me wrong, of course. I don't count it as a real Pokemon. You can always prove me wrong. I would love to be proved wrong. Outside of that, I think he has good strengths. Melmetal's great. I like Infernape. Tapu Koko's amazing. He can pivot around a lot with Swampert, Koko, and Infernape to get in the Melmetal and they'll start breaking. Blissey can also bring it in as well. I just wish he had like a Mon that he can go from Blissey into that's like not Latias. Like just on like a CC.
Alright. Next up is the Aqua Lika Pies, coached by Lucas, also winning the medal for the most horrifying logo. The team is Spectrier, Skarmory, Terrakion, Gardevoir Mega, Araquanid, Dragalge, Diggersby, Darmanitan, Regigigas, and Rotom-Mow. I think this is another team that struggles just by not being quite bulky enough, and for a team that's not quite bulky enough, it's also not quite strong enough to be a hyper-offense team. I do like how well-designed this team is to take care of the checks to Spectrier, with Terrakion being very good at killing both Dark types and normal types, and Gardevoir being a great Dark-type killer as well, and Dark-type switch-in. I think that this team seems like very hyper-offensive, but it's also got Mons like Skarmory, which seem kind of out of place on the team, despite its ability to set spikes and stuff. So I think that this team is pretty good. It will succeed in setting up Spectrier for success, I believe, but it also may just struggle to take hits, and without webs up, may struggle to be able to beat the other offensive teams.
Okay. Next up, we have the Nuclear Knights, coached by Beige, with Lopunny Mega, Jirachi, Kyurem, Weezing Galar, Crocodile, Raikou, Jellicent, Braviary, Magmortar, and the Celigor. Beige's team all around is kind of mid. I mean, the only real 2 scary Mons I see on this team are like Lopunny and Jirachi. Braviary can be scary if he can get spikes up in the spike stack with a Celigor, but then he doesn't have a spinner. So like he would have to just come in and defog himself if then hazards are up against him, because he has a lot of Mons that just want to keep coming in, Lopunny wants to come in all the time, Jirachi wants to come in all the time, Kyurem wants to come in. Kyurem's probably gonna be boots though every week. Crocodile loves to come in, just spread intimidate. So yeah.
Alright. And next up is Enrico's team. That is the Long Island Landorus. The team is Mega Scizor, Latios, Andorus, Therian, Togekiss, Regieleki, Incineroar, Tentacruel, Breloom, Frostlass, and Butterfree. Butterfree's bad, but the rest of the team's pretty good. It's got good fire resists for the Mega Scizor. Only mediocre ice resist for the Landorus, but there's still a couple of them. While Freezer might be a little bit of a threat. And all in all, a pretty decent team that's good at bringing in its Mons and has a little bit of everything. This team is very, very well designed around the Regieleki, with things like Breloom, things like Tentacruel, Landorus, Latios, Frostlass, all of which punish ground types coming in, which I think is really strategic. I think the problem with this team is it's just not that scary. While there are some strong mods on here, things like Regieleki and Latios, and Landorus, all while really great mods, are not exactly things that strike fear into the hearts of their enemies usually. And so honestly, I think the closest thing to being a nightmare on this team to prep for defensively is the Breloom or maybe the Sizor. So I think this team is good. It could use a little bit of oomph behind it, but otherwise I think it's pretty well balanced and it has all the roles it needs. It just could use a little bit more strength.
Next up is the Pittsburgh Primflips, coached by Charles, with Galate Mega, Tapu Fini, Hydreigon, Cinderace, Registeel, Serena, Mudsdale, Galvantula, Licky, Articuno, and Garbodor. I really like his team, actually. I love Tapu Fini plus Mega Galate, because that just means Mega Galate now can't be status. Unfortunately, that also goes with his opponent as well, so things like Registeel and Licky just became a lot more passive, because now they can't spread Toxics or T-Waves like they want to. Which is fine. They're still great fat mons. He has great wall core, Tapu Fini, Registeel, Mudsdale, Licky. Articuno's a good wall as well. They're never gonna die. Great offensive mons in Galate, Mega, Hydreigon, Cinderace. He has ways to get in the Mega Galate. He can bring it in with Cinderace, Serena, Hydreigon, all of them, which are probably just gotta run U-turn every week anyway. Just get it in, start blowing stuff up. I think all around he has a great team.
All right, and not to toot my own horn, but in third place is the Rockford Roselias, my team, coached by Rosa, which is me. The team is Mega Alakazam, Celesteela, Sylveon, Regidrago, obviously Roselia, Rotom Heat, Milotic, Gliscor, Pangoro, Kangaskhan, and Chargebug. I drafted this team, so I have some insights about it. I think Mega Alakazam, obviously very strong mon, really good at kind of burning through teams. While the team looks a little bit more bulky than the average, Rotom Heat, Gliscor, Sylveon are all mons that are very bulky but also still have offensive presence. And Regidrago is a great breaker for this team. Pangoro is a good breaker. If anything, what this team is probably going to struggle with is the big speed gap between Alakazam and the next highest mon. And B, just a general sort of lack of ability to break strong special walls that can check Pangoro, and things like a Clefable look very, very bad for this team. But while Regidrago does force the opponent's fairies to come, my team is, with the Celesteela and the Rotom Heat, kind of designed to be able to punish that. So all in all, I think my team is pretty good. Has a few weaknesses, but also seems like it's going to be a team that's always going to have something to do in each matchup and is never just going to get destroyed, even if it doesn't win all of its games.
Next is the New York Blaziken's, coached by Izaran, with Dragapult, Diancie Mega, Slowbro, Manectric, Mantipus, Nidoqueen, Arcanine, Copperajah, Thwackey, and Zapdos Galar. Unfortunately, he used to have a Zigzagoon and he dropped it. I'm crying inside. I wish he would have flexed on Olagio with the Zigzagoon, but he dropped it, unfortunately. That's okay. Otherwise, his team's still goated regardless. He has an amazing team all around. I love Dragapult, Mega Diancie. That's such a scary. Those two mons are so scary. On top of that, he has Nidoqueen as well. What's switching it onto his team? Zapdos Galar? He has such good offensive mons. Then he has Slowbro, Mandibuzz, Arcanine, Copperajah. There's all those things, just great mesh of a team. I think all around his team's amazing.
All right, and that leads us to first place. This is the Giovanni division. So this is what we consider the best team of all, the best division. That is the Loch Ness Lombres, coached by Cammy Boy. The team is Tornadus, Therian, Mew, Nidoking, Zeraora, Vaporeon, Corviknight, Houndoom, Kecleon, Mega Heracross, and Clefairy. I mean, you only need to look at the first four mons in this team to tell why it's so good, and why he won his first two games 6-0 and 5-0 respectively. Tornadus, Mew, Nidoking, and Zeraora are all mons that are very versatile, can do a ton of things, very, very hard to prep for, all offensive threats in their own right. Corviknight and Vaporeon, both great defensive mons that can also pivot to bring things in. That's also true of Clefairy. While the defensive backbone is a little bit weaker than other teams may be, both Mew and Tornadus can play defensive roles as well, which kind of makes up for that. Kecleon's really, really strong, can just do a ton of things, very, very versatile for this team. And Heracross is just a big, beefy physical breaker that'll just kill everything that gets in front of it. This team is broken, doesn't really seem to have any major weaknesses in my opinion. And should be very, very successful this season and has been so far, given just the sheer overall power of its mons compared with the rest of the league. So that concludes it for our Giovanni Power Rankings. Thanks for sticking with us as we did all of these. And I hope that all of you have very successful seasons, and we'll see you in the league. Peace.